Hey there everyone! Welcome back to another exciting video for the Shibarium community and its partners. I'm Cezanne Shib, and my mission is to spread knowledge and positivity within the Shibarium ecosystem. This video is the 15th of all X-Space Weekly DAO Updates series. This X-Space was held May 1st, 2024.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another KNINE Finance X Spaces Weekly DAO Update number 15. You are here very early, either following the reminder link or listening to the recording if you're here like this. So we appreciate that. Being here early on the recording means you could potentially skip forward if you wanted to or look for what you're interested in. But if you're here live, you're here for the setup. You're stuck as we go through the X Spaces setup. So you're going to be here as we approve our guests. We've got people from within the community who are supposed to be here with us today to do some speaking. We're going to get them approved. We're going to check microphones. There's maintenance that goes on. So bear with us as we're doing that. What you can do for me while I'm doing that would be helpful in the comment section. Bottom right, if you're a listener in a Spaces, is where the comment section is. Now that's your place to be seen, to be heard. If you can't be a speaker, that's the place to be. So you can comment down there. Let us know what you think of the conversation, questions that may have come up from what we're talking about, concerns, criticisms. I love those. Those are great. And just generally, that's your place to have a conversation. So hopefully you guys can participate down there. I'd like to see that number going up throughout the show. I want to see that hopefully up around the 50 mark or so here in a little bit. Share button is next. You can share the Spaces either onto your timeline or directly to someone if you know that they meant to be here and you don't see them. You can DM the Spaces. Very helpful as well. And then last is emojis. For most of you, you know you can use the emojis to let us know that you're here, that you're hearing things that you like or don't like what you're hearing. That's your way to participate from the audience. So let me request a few speakers to come up along here with me. I know Turtle's going to be here today. I see Buzz is here in the audience. The main Shib account is here with us today. They may come up and hang out in a speaker spot as well. I'm hoping that Lightspeed stops by. Funk should probably roll through. We'll see who makes it through. Questions for people based on who shows up, but just generally our updates between weeks 14 and 15. You guys know the routine if you've been to these before. Turtle came up first. Microphone check. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Shane. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Sounds good and loud and clear over here. Buzz got up on the first try. A very interesting predicament. How did that work? Can I hear you?
I hope you can hear me.
My gosh. Wow. All right. Well, we're going to cross our fingers because X is usually harsh to Buzz. It's good to hear you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us up again, Shane, and for hosting. Happy to be here for the 15th update. It's crazy that we've done this now 15 times.
Yeah. Consistency, right? Just keep checking them off. You'd be surprised how quick they add up. One a week doesn't seem like a lot until sometimes you look back. I've done a weekly show before, and when you're looking back on it, it really does start to pile up. And you can look back on I take notes and stuff, so I've got these different piles of paper now that kind of like represent different things that we've talked about too, is because I keep them. I kind of hoard those things. It's interesting to look back on it. So give a couple more minutes for the warm up. I usually give like a 5-minute intro, and then we'll reset the room, pretend like none of this happened, and you guys will throw the curtain open and go live for the remainder of the recorded audience or for that crisp sound purpose. If you could, Turtle, or if there's anybody that you thought might swing through, this would be the chance to send them a DM if you were expecting to hear from anybody relative to updates from Shima, updates from maybe what went on with Apebond or how that conversation's been going. We talked about that last week, so we might look for updates there. We could also pin posts. If anybody has speakers that anything that they're going to want to talk about, now would be your time to dive into the profiles and pin those things up to the top, because we can use those as references for the upcoming conversation. And we'll wait 1 or 2 more minutes to get all that done, and we'll dive in. I did approve the Shib account to come up as a speaker. I should be able to see that. Yes, there we go. What's up, Shib account? Not that I expect you to respond to me, but it's good to see you up here. We appreciate you guys swinging through and participating in the algorithmic boost that is bringing the social powerhouse of the Shib primary account to KNINE X Spaces. That doesn't go without appreciation. We obviously understand that you could be hanging out anywhere, but it's not a lot of spaces you pull up in, and we appreciate that you choose to do it with us. At the 5-minute mark, we're right about there. Buzzer, there's Funk. We'll get him up here. Check his mic before we roll into the reset. See how he's doing today. 1, 2, 3. I see some pin posts populating up top. Looks like everything's falling into place. Kronk meme. It's all coming together. Funkadelic. Funk, are you there? Microphone check. What's up?
Hey, man. Well, happy to be here. Mic check's working, hopefully, and excited for this DAO update.
Loud and clear, man. Sounds loud and clear to me. Thank you for pulling up. Appreciate you swinging through. We're about to do the room reset and hit it. If you're ready to go, if everybody else is ready to go, I'm ready to go. Get one more sip of this delicious, cool water. I'm sure you're all staying very well hydrated and stuff. It's important, you know. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another KNINE Finance Weekly DAO Update, number 15. You are here 15 weeks into a DAO called KNINE Finance, and you're here looking at the title for Community Questions and Development Updates this week. I'm here as the KNINE Finance primary account. However, I'm actually just a community member. I'm a dude just like you guys. Remember, it's a DAO. My name is CryptoPulse or Pulse Digital, so when you see the KNINE Finance account talking, don't think of me as the dev. I'm not the guy that, wrote the contract or anything. We're all people here, so that's who I am and why that's out of the way. I'm the speaker. I get to do that stuff. Now, who do I have here to talk to you today? That's a better question. You can look at the panel if you're here live, or if you're listening to the recording, maybe you can't see everything quite the same, but the SHIB account is here with us today. First and foremost, hanging out co-pilot in the side seat, holding the stick for me, keeping the plane straight in case I get out of control. Sometimes when I'm talking to the passengers, I get a little loose. So they're the autopilot function today. We appreciate SHIB hanging out with us. And then in the main cabin, helping the passengers in first class, Buzz is actually here back this week. It's good to hear you, Buzz. How are you?
I'm doing well. Last week was a really busy week. I know I missed the DAO updates. With all of the information coming out from the SHIB team, like in regards to Shiba Swap migrating to Shibarium, in regards to the Shibarium fork, the treat update with the layer 3. It's been a whirlwind of development, and I'm happy to share some of the things that we've been working on and how everything is going with development. Everything is going great.
Good. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to dive into that because, as we always talk about, Buzz goes a lot of places, but rarely does he have the home court advantage. So when we dive into development updates, remember his unique title as a SHIB development team member like that gives him some inside track. So you guys should probably look forward to maybe hearing things from a perspective or from a place that you wouldn't get it anywhere else. That's why it's nice to have Buzz around. So look forward to that. Turtle is here, and Turtle we already did the microphone check for, but Turtle's going to be doing forum updates with us and talking about some of that stuff. How are you doing, Turtle?
No complaints, man. Just working away, keeping an eye on the market, and just trying to find more hours in the day. Honestly, there's a long list, but we're powering through, and I feel like we're moving pretty quickly for where we're at. It's kind of crazy to think about that we're already at week 15. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess, but at least we're still having fun. So fun check is good.
Yep. And I'm looking forward to you going through some of the updates. I know you've been monitoring the forums closely. A lot of questions and stuff from conversation either last week, like we said, the Apebond conversation that was going on over there, Shima's proposal and stuff. So we'll let you get into that stuff because we've got a lot to touch on. Hopefully people throw up some hands and we get some more conversation about it down there. Funk, are you over there? How are you doing, sir? I'm sure he's doing well. Sometimes people run to the mic. Yo, what's up?
No, if you're just asking me how I'm doing great. But if you're asking for updates, I could do that too.
Nope, not at all. Totally was going to wait on that. Definitely don't need to jump into it right now. Just kind of checking on everything. You can hang out for a second. I'm going to hand it to Buzz first because every time when we get here, generally I want to check in with everybody and then we'll hand it to Buzz because Buzz, like he said, was actually not even here last week. So we've got a whole truckload of extra updates and stuff from Buzz before we're going to go into anything else. So without further ado, how's it been, Buzz? What's your 2 weeks look like?
Oh, it's been good. The community probably saw so many great updates come out from the SHIB team and Shibarium. A lot of those updates, like we had heard rumblings about, but now it's nice to see them on paper and read those. And for us, one of the things with the product is that we're going to be integrating Shiba Swap 2.0. So as a significant part of our roadmap, it's that KNINE is going to be bridging to Shibarium. KNINE is going to be stakeable on Shibarium. When you stake KNINE, you're earning from our validator network. And there's a circular nature of the KNINE product where when people are using the product, they're staking on Shiba Swap, and then they're able to earn KNINE throughout this circular process that a lot of people are probably relatively familiar with here. So really critical for us to understand the architecture of Shiba Swap And we are building this one-click interface where we've recognized like LSDs can be a foreign language to many people, no matter how deep they are into crypto. So we wanted to have this one-click button where it's like, hey, do you want to use the full K9 product? You're clicking one button and one transaction versus probably having to do 5 and go to different websites. And to do that, we need to predict and put into our architecture all of the smart contracts that function is going to be hitting. So understanding exactly the fork that ShibaSwap is going to be from, the architecture of that, starting to learn a little bit more about how Treat is going to play a role in ShibaSwap as well. So we've been doing some significant updates to the product to make sure that that one-click interface is working. We've been last week working with the Shib team to become a whitelisted validator on PuppyNet. So we've been able to identify some documentation gaps, work with the Shib team there to make sure that, and I'm sure people saw it, they have launched a form for others to become validators as well. So that's going to be really helpful. And I think a lot of that's probably coming out of some documentation gaps that we've been able to fill in the past couple weeks. So a lot of development work. None of it is that sexy, so to speak, because it's a lot of architecture and planning. Last week, we were able to get out the mobile interface, sneak peek of what the product's looking like on a mobile device, and kind of highlight the number of wallets that we're integrating there. I think our next update is going to be with the administrative panel. So there's a host of things that us as a DAO are going to be able to toggle in terms of configurations for how the K9 product will work. And these include things like what should the fees be? Are there any other reward systems that we want to plug into the interface? And all that'll be able to be managed from a back-end admin panel where the DAO can vote on these certain things, and partner tokens can become partnered with K9 to be rewarding people and incentivizing the growth of people using the K9 product and delegating Bone and the benefits that come to Shibarium in that. So a lot of the updates in regards to development are not as sexy, so to speak, as seeing the flashy videos about a mobile update, but really critical things that we need to get past in terms of having that validator whitelisted, understanding the architecture of ShibaSwap and being able to plug in there. But us being a little bit quiet means that there's a heck of a lot of work going on to figure all that stuff out that isn't necessarily as interesting to talk about on a DAO update.
You know, some people thought you were dead.
I know,
So
right? I got a couple more messages.
Much to their chagrin, Buzz is still around. I have notes, and I want to back up through some of those things that you mentioned. So if my job is to be the voice, then these are the things that I've seen people asking or messing up. So here are my notes. You said the words mobile interface. It's not an app, right? You said mobile interface for a reason. I saw people confusing it, saying I can't wait for the K9 app to come out. There's not an app coming to the App Store. This isn't an iOS, Android thing. This is a DApp, right? A decentralized application. Can you clarify what that means?
Oh, yeah. This is an awesome topic that I love diving into. So a DApp is basically, you can think of it just a website that you're able to connect a wallet to. So obviously you can pull up a website on your computer, or you can pull up a website on your phone, like on Safari or Google Chrome. The DApp and the mobile interface is pulling it up on Safari or Google Chrome on your mobile device. So there's some things that you need to do to optimize it to work on a mobile device for people who are on the go or may not have access to a computer and things like that. And that update was not an app. It was the mobile version of being able to access K9 from a mobile wallet. And for those who are maybe unfamiliar with the process of getting an app onto iOS and Android in the crypto sphere, getting a crypto app on iOS is probably one of the most tiresome things that I've ever worked on in my life as part of a team, because Apple wants its 30% of revenue. And this was a couple years ago that I was working on something like this, but they have not really quite understood the concept of crypto yet when it comes to customer support and approving apps that go on the App Store with iOS. So for example, like when an NFT is transferred or when you're buying tokens on Uniswap or whatever it may be, Apple thinks that they should get their 30% of that, and that it should be an in-app purchase. So they typically take 30% of revenue as if it were a gaming app or a traditional Web2 app. So getting things with the crypto label into an app store is a process in and of itself. Android is a lot better, but Apple always wants that cut. So I'm glad that we're focused on getting this on a mobile interface versus a completely different discussion, which is a mobile app.
The funniest comment about it that I saw and that made me want to bring this up was somebody said, "Wow, I never expected a mobile app from KNINE. This is amazing." And I was like, "Oh golly, that DApp is in the light paper. Like that's literally what you should expect. That's what we're doing. You shouldn't be surprised." Oh no. So I appreciate you clarifying that. Short pause because I just saw Indax came into the room. I wanted to shout out Indax Canadian Cryptocurrency Exchange. I saw you slide through, bro. You can't get into these rooms without me seeing that stuff. I don't know how many Canadians we have in here, but shout out to Indax for sliding through. And I see some other friends, by the way, as I was looking through the listeners. Shout out to everybody in the comments that I see. I see a lot of familiar faces, and you guys rolling up in here is awesome. See a lot of blue and gold check marks too, verified accounts and stuff, but Indax caught my eye. Next question that I wrote down, you said validator whitelist, and you're talking about puppy swap. I need you to speak to some of these canine people, maybe like me, who are less familiar with what's going on the SHIB side, because you're enveloped over there and you know a lot about that. Talk to me about what a validator whitelist is. Like how far away from being a validator that we can stake on does that make us? And what is PuppyNet, you said, and what is the difference between that and Shibarium?
Yeah. So I want to clarify like my role is like a development advocate. Like I'm not actually building anything that SHIB's building, but our team does have a direct chat open with some of the SHIB developers where we're able to work through a lot of the documentation requests that we have to make sure that we're building our product correctly. So, but to answer the question directly, PuppyNet is the testnet environment for Shibarium. So on Ethereum, for example, like when you're deploying an app or you're deploying a token or you're deploying anything for that matter, any sort of smart contract, you want to deploy it to a testnet first, which uses fake money to test the product. And you can use it. You can do a variety of unit tests or whatever testing that you want to do as a developer. You can have your auditors look at it and test it. And you always deploy to this test environment first, where if there is an error, it can be caught in an environment that doesn't have huge costs to it, where if you were just deploy to a mainnet and people start using it because these are decentralized smart contracts and an issue gets found on mainnet, well, it becomes a huge issue. So that's the development process that really any smart contract developer should be using. And Shibarium's version of a testnet and this testing environment to deploy a smart contract to that's using what I like to call fun money is called PuppyNet. So it's basically a carbon copy of Shibarium in an environment with fake money where you can deploy things to and you can test it out, make sure that it works. And we've been deploying pieces of our code base and pieces of our product because it's Q2 to PuppyNet over the course of the last couple weeks. And a significant win for us is that the SHIB team needs to whitelist validators to make sure that they're trustworthy, they should be a validator on a decentralized network, etc. And we've been whitelisted on PuppyNet so that we can begin testing the full version of our product and basically in a testing environment be staking test bone to that validator, making sure that the validator is minting KNINE bone to the PuppyNet environment, making sure that you're able to stake KNINE, earn rewards from that are coming from the validator. So that piece and being whitelisted is a big win for us getting off the ground and being able to test the product end to end.
Cool. I got it now more, honestly. And I do appreciate the explanation because I know how deep you can be into things, and we always have to remind ourselves that there's going to be someone who knows a lot less about the technical side, and they're just here trying to learn a little bit of it. So that actually makes more sense to me, that it is just the fact that you got access now to this next level to test on that the average person wouldn't be. More development updates and stuff as we're headed towards the product. Before I hand it over to Turtle, those were the only two questions I had. Funk, Turtle, 2%, you guys have all got microphones. Any questions about any of the things he brought up before we switch to forum updates? No hands? Nothing crazy? good to get the updates.
I can add like something else, because I think you were asking like, well, how far are we from actually being able to have this validator up and running, and people staking and earning from the validator. So there's a few roadblocks that we've run into with getting this validator up and running on PuppyNet, which is not a unforeseen thing. I think we're probably we are the first product doing what we're doing on Shibarium. So as we're doing that, we're just finding documentation gaps and working through it with the SHIB development team. And we're almost there to have that validator stood up on testnet. But in terms of having it live on mainnet, we're very much so still in line with our roadmap to have that live and the full product live in Q3. Just had a great full development team update a couple hours ago, and everything's looking good for our Q3 launch according to the original roadmap.
And my last question, since no one else had one, is I got one for myself, because I usually try to get someone else to do it. But is this visible to anyone else? If there was anyone in here that was technically interested in something like this, because I'm not the kind of guy that's going to go watch how the sausage is made necessarily here. But if somebody wanted to watch, is PuppyNet something that can be seen? Is there an Explorer or anything like that?
Yeah, there is. That's probably a great point. Once we have it stood up, we could probably put out some collateral along with a video that has a link where people could click a PuppyNet link to go look at the K9 validator. So I think that's a good idea. Not something I really thought that people would be interested in.
Can I ask you something even sillier?
Yes.
Is there such a thing as having like a way for everyone to kind of test the product in a fake environment like that? Or could there be a limited number of slots available? I'm literally making this up in front of him, by the way, guys, so I'm pinning him to the ground on this one. Is it possible that people could go play with their own fun money to get an idea of what you're doing?
It feels like you're reading my mind. So originally when we had it on the roadmap to launch on testnet in Q2, it was basically doing exactly what we're doing, like testing it in a development environment, but your average Joe who might not be a developer might not be able to do that. So part of what we've added to the scope for the test environment is building what's called a faucet, where you could go to this, think of it like a button that you click to get free money from. So you can click this button, you can get free test K9 to go to the product and start using it. And what we would need to do as a development team is actually stand up the environment on a website where people would be able to interact with these smart contracts on PuppyNet. So we've added that to the scope of work because it actually was born out of, I don't know if it was one of these DAO updates or it was an external AMA, but someone brought it up where they wanted to start seeing like, oh, like what's it going to be like to use the product? Like what could these potential APYs look like? And we thought, well, what better idea than standing up a test environment and getting people to become accustomed to using it prior to going live. So we're going to be standing up a web page where people can use all the smart contracts with their MetaMask wallet or with any of the wallets that are usable with Wallet Connect, where they could just add PuppyNet to their networks on MetaMask and start testing it out for free. But that'll probably be towards the end of Q2 because it is an addition to our roadmap, whereas before we kind of were under the impression that it would just be sort of like standard testnet deployment where it would be mostly just accessible to people who understand the code base.
You can have a laugh with Lightspeed about when you said it feels like I'm reading your mind, because he always yells at me to get out of his head. When I'm really in tune, sometimes I get it right. I promise we didn't schedule that one ahead of time. Now, I have gamer brain. I always like to gamify things. I've been a gamer since forever. And what people are going to think then, and this is just mad alpha, if I'm ruining something, I'm going to be in trouble. But people are going to expect if they work on a test platform, they're going to be earning points towards something. And I'm going to use the A word, so nobody hold anybody but me accountable. But airdrop. Are people who test on this test platform, he probably can't even say this if it's true, is it potential that interacting on the test platform, as it is so beneficial for all of us, could potentially have rewards in the future? Question mark?
Yeah, you're actually messing with my mind bringing up these questions, because it's like, how the heck does he know this? But because to the audience, it probably seems like we actually spoke about this before. But there's not much I can say there, but if you were to look at the token economics, I think it's 7% of the total K9 tokens are going to be allocated to a retroactive airdrop. And we've talked about this before on DAO updates, and these programs have had a lot of success in on other chains to drive more users to the end product and more TVL to these chains. So we're going to be creating a pretty comprehensive program that is going to look at, okay, what have our holders and what has the community been doing in terms of on-chain activity that's promoting Shibarium, that's promoting KNINE, promoting the usage of the chain. So it'll be looking at things like, have you bridged to Shibarium before? Do you own Bone on the Shibarium network? Have you used the KNINE product on testnets? And we can pull all of this data through on-chain methods and see, okay, in Q4, when this airdrop goes live, which wallets have been holding KNINE for a long time? Which wallets have been accumulating? Which wallets have been staking? Which wallets have been testing the product on testnets? And those are the ones that would be given a higher weight of what they would receive with this retroactive airdrop, and it is a really common growth strategy that we've seen be very successful with other projects and with other chains.
So depending on which side of this conversation you're on right now, if you're Buzz in the development team and I'm spilling the tea without actually having been told in the first place, you're wrecked right now. You're pissed because they probably had a marketing rollout strategy to go along with all this. But if you're one of the people who attends this space, this is the benefit of coming to a Pulse Digital Spaces, you're always going to get the best alpha because I'm never, ever going to go the direction that the person I'm interviewing expects. I literally made all this up. I'm just reading his mind, but airdrop season is what it's been. And I think Jito and the others have done this. Lido might have even done airdrops. I don't remember. But airdrops, honestly, imagine if you heard that all of your actions up till now interacting with all of these platforms could potentially be earning you some sort of an airdrop. The idea that it would drive volume, not just for KNINE, obviously, if you knew that doing things with KNINE was going to benefit you, people would want to hold the token or interact with the test platform or whatever. But just blindly saying, if you're interacting on Shibarium, have you bridged? Do you have Bone over there? How long have you hold it? Like, do you even have a wallet active over there? Like, all of this might eventually accumulate into some sort of a point system, which eventually ends up in an airdrop. NFA, DYOR. Remember, I'm just the dude in the KNINE finance account. And I'm holding Buzz to the fire here, but this is mega bullish. Mega bullish, you guys. People love news like this. So thank you for letting me ask you those questions, Buzz, because I know I literally just put you on the spot with all of that. But that's really cool stuff.
I like to use the term provenance. It's like one of the beauties of blockchain. It's like we have this provenance of like every single action a wallet has done across multiple chains, testnets, mainnets, L2s, whatever it may be. So when you're putting together a really strategically laid out airdrop program, you can see who's held, who's bridged, who has been accumulating, who's staking, who's using the product, who's using our partner products, who holds leash, who holds a lot of Bone, who's been accumulating Bone. Like, we can start to put together a story of like, what are the actions that we want to be incentivizing? And the mission of the DAO is to grow DeFi on Shibarium. So if you're somebody whose wallet is participating in a lot of DeFi-based actions, like the bridging and holding and staking and things like that, I think you can expect to be accumulating points in that regard. But no more alpha, Shane.
Mic drop. I can't wait to see that circulate amongst all the communities and stuff. Buzz, thank you for that, because I know I just extracted like a dentist pulling wisdom teeth. He's going to need a couple hours for that. Go take like 10 minutes to breathe and get yourself a glass of water before Buzz's corner. And I'm going to hand it over to Turtle and give you a break from the spotlight. Spotlight swings over to Turtle immediately in the chair like, what's up, Turtle? How are you now?
Yeah, how do I follow that up, right? Everything I'm going to have to say is not going to be quite as exciting. I do want to add a little bit of alpha. One of the other actions that are easy to track on chain is people participating in snapshot votes in the DAO. And so I'll just leave that thought out there.
Great point.
As far as testnet goes as well, we do intend on running bug bounty programs. There's a couple options in the mix right now. So anyone who's technical that's listening, that's an opportunity, just something to be aware of.
That's another good one too. Last week we had Shima was here and did some talk about his proposal. Apebond had a proposal and stuff. What has your mind been on this week? Another week goes by looking at your baby grow and users, and people are earning badges and stuff like that. So what have you been thinking about as you watch the forum this week?
Yeah, it's really been great. The activity has continued to go up, right? I'm looking at the back-end analytics, not something everyone can see, but every day there's more and more activity on the forum. In particular, new postings, new proposals. We're seeing, a couple a week or, one every other day over the last week or so. And that's what it's there for, right? It shows that people are understanding the way the DAO functions. It's accessible. So for me, it feels like we've done a good job at step one. I'm sure there's a lot of improvements that we'll make over time, but overall, really good feedback, good user sign-up rate, and great engagement rate. We're getting 18 to 40 replies on some of the more interesting proposals, and everybody's taking part. More than I even expected. I think I've taken a glance across the industry, and we're for our size, the amount of interaction we're getting is remarkable.
I have a question. This is actually my own question, but I think it stems from something that if people are active in the forum, they may wonder about here. So there are going to be discussions that happen in that forum, and I'm going to use a couple of examples that are happening where maybe the token burn question that's in there, or the one about the Apebond thing that's going on. There are people that are able to go write thoughtfully and put together their words in a way where they feel good enough to hit the send button, because they can even go back and hit edit and stuff like that. And a certain amount of those people are never going to transfer to the live speaking audience that's recorded on X to be here. And Buzz said in the chat that he would love to have seen, or would love to see in the future, more people show up. And I think we all would, more people who are actively participating in those conversations, come to places like this, or come to the VCs and stuff and articulate those points. But not everybody's Abraham Lincoln, man. They're not all willing to come up in 35,000 years ago in front of everybody and talk on the microphone. So what are we going to do? And I'm asking you, Turtle, not that I have a solution, but I'm just kind of asking broadly, what are we going to do to bridge the gap between the thoughtful conversation that happens over there and bringing it over here? Because, for example, I would be willing to, if we needed to, play point and counterpoint, just to read the comments back and forth. But one day, it's just going to be that thing where someone is over there just tearing it up, having a great conversation, but it never happens here. What are your thoughts on getting that conversation to an oral place, a verbal place where we can hear it?
Yeah, Shane, well said. I've reached out to a couple of folks who have been very vocal on the forum, and to your point, not everyone wants to get up in front of an audience and speak. And so that actually didn't, I had a couple of folks I'd reached out to actually for this week and wasn't able to make that happen. I do want to share that we've set the next roundtable call for May 10th, which is, I believe, next Friday. And that's going to be one day after the DAO space. And I'm thinking we can do exactly what you suggested for the next DAO space. Maybe we get into the nuts and bolts on each one and kind of present it as it's going to be presented to the roundtable. Because when we review a proposal, really it's just a matter of taking into consideration all of the communication in the thread, and then thinking about what's best, for the mission of the DAO. And if it aligns, then it goes to vote. And I think exactly what we do on those roundtable calls, we could condense. So that's really good feedback, and I'll aim for next week's to go through some of the hot proposals and some of the hot feedback, and maybe you and I can coordinate ahead of time.
That would be great. And anybody else too that's thinking the same thing, how do we have those same conversations, if it's not on Spaces here, if it's in the VC, or maybe it's getting someone to take the time to even record a voice message or something like that. Just because sometimes being able to go back and forth with people, it's easier to flush out their thinking on something or get to the logic of why they've thought of something. Because writing back and forth works well, but if it feels like we're sealing a letter with wax and putting it in a carrier pigeon's pouch to wait for 7 days, that's not productive in 2024 sometimes to have to wait. So I'm too familiar with working with Lightspeed, and I get antsy when someone doesn't reply back in 10 minutes. I guess that's my ADA, my attention deficit going in a little bit on that stuff.
I welcome everyone to go to the forum and really give some attention to the proposals that are getting the most traction. Those will be in front of the roundtable next Friday. So it's a good time to still get your feedback in there and kind of maybe change the direction or enhance the proposal or whatever it is you have to say. But I do agree with Shane. I think we could have a condensed individual proposal review. I don't want to do that on this call just because we'll run out of time, but maybe for next week, that'll be a good fit. As far as the forum proposals that are getting the most traction, and I'm just basing this on views and replies, the Apebond proposal has 36 replies. It's actually the leader in the forum, and there's a lot of good feedback there. I know some additional management council members still want to provide feedback there as well. And, at the end of the day, it's a DAO. So whatever everyone collectively decides is best is the direction it'll go in, but there is some contentious feedback. So that'll make a good candidate for next week's space. The other two that are getting a lot of attention is the annual KNINE Burn Day, which you briefly mentioned here, Shane, which I don't know that we should go into too much on this call, but it is kind of in the spirit of the SHIB ecosystem, and we're trying to kind of create a official day. This idea just came from the management council broadly. It's there's no specific person, but the other one is the Treasury Management Proposal, which so far is getting very positive feedback and looks like it's going to kind of coast right through. But again, if anyone can find a hole in it or find an enhancement, I encourage you to get in there and participate.
It's yours, Buzz. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I definitely hear what you're saying, Shane. Like, I think for when you have a forum, it can feel daunting. Like, oh, I need to write this essay in order to get my opinion heard there. I go back to this point about provenance. It's like, even if it's one sentence, like, hey, I support this, or hey, I don't support this, and here's why, and it's very simple. It gives another data point for the community to look at, or for the roundtable to look at, to say, hey, it looks like X amount of people are for it, X amount of people are against it. Here's the feedback, and I don't think people need to be scared to voice their opinion there. We do want it to be a very respectful environment, but all comments help, and I think your idea about having verbal discussions about the forum is great as well. But as a community, we should try to have that provenance and have any verbal discussions still recognized on that thread as a point of provenance. Like, how did the community truly feel about that? Because sometimes verbal discussions, while they are great for hashing out details and being quicker communication points than writing, we do need some place to point these to as a community. In terms of like because I wasn't here last week, I just wanted to kind of give my opinion, and I did comment on some of the forum posts as well. So I wanted to comment on the Apebond one as well as the other two, so that like the burn and the Treasury Management Proposal. So with Apebond, I made a comment, and I do encourage people to go read that. Maybe I'll tweet it out after this, tweet out my specific comment, but I think that certainly has pros and cons. The pro is that, and again, it's not mutually exclusive that we use only Apebond to add liquidity. Like, the DAO could add liquidity to the pair as well, but it's not a mutually exclusive proposal in any regard. I think the pro here is that there's KNINE in the DAO treasury. It can be used as a tool to get more holders in and external users who are adding liquidity, but it could still be coupled with the KNINE DAO adding liquidity as well. And the cons, of course, is that we're issuing more KNINE tokens into the market. So we need to weigh as a community, like, hey, is this a proposal that we want to go forward with? There's certainly pros and cons. Just like for the next two proposals, there's going to be pros and cons too. So for the Treasury Management Proposal, I am in favor of that. Like, I think it's really great that we're drinking our own Kool-Aid, so to speak. Like, we're using Lido prior to our product being launched. It's not with the entire treasury amount. We're still staying long ETH, long SHIB, and long BONE, which are tokens that we're supporting for the long term. And we're retaining liquidity. I mean, these are not massive returns. It's I think there's always risk for any DeFi protocols in crypto, but I think it's relatively as risk-free as you can get. And that's why the returns are reflected that way. I think Shima came out with like an average weighted return of about 6%, which is what you'd kind of expect for a strategy that's trying to mitigate risk. Like, there are strategies out there which use a variety of L2s, which could earn up to 40 to 60%, but you pose the risk of losing your entire principal, which is, I don't think, was appropriate for using DAO funds for something like that. So I think there's pros and cons there as well, but I'm definitely in favor because it retains liquidity. Like, we could pull that out at any given time, and we're still retaining a long position on those assets. And as for the burn proposal, I've yet to make an official comment there, but I think there's pros and cons too. Like, I saw your comment, I think Mr. Lightspeed also commented on it as well, and just the effectiveness in burns in general that come from the treasury. I definitely have mixed feelings when it comes to burns, but I do recognize whenever we make a post or whenever we talk about burns, the SHIB community goes crazy. And I think that the effectiveness of this burn is not necessarily in the action of burning tokens, but is in whatever could become of the community getting excited about this burn and like the press and the marketing effect that comes with it. But there's pros and cons, of course, here too. There's other uses of capital that those tokens could be used for. There's other avenues of marketing that could go down. And this is why I just encourage people to make that proposal to the forum, because interesting discussions come out of it and we're able to flesh out the pros and cons as a community and make sure everyone's voices are heard.
I appreciate you letting everybody know what your thoughts are on those contentious ones. What I would say is the amount of people that we have right now in this space is alone. If they would simply switch over to their browser and go to forum.k9finance.com and log in and sign up, they'd be able to make a comment on that and have immediately the most popular commented thread in the entire place, because there's more people here than there are commenting on anything. So literally, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing right now? We've been talking about this website and you guys weren't surfing there the whole time. Damn, Turtle should be over there telling me 20 people have signed up since we started talking about it. Get it together, listeners. I love you guys, but wow, it's a great place. Turtle built a great place. I'm just sorry. I'm fighting for you, Turtle. I will not go in. Buzz, I will not go in on any of the stuff that you said proposal-wise. I just would say everyone go read my comment over there, and I'll do my best to reserve it for next week, where I will give you a spirited version of what I feel. And then with that, I will move on to Funk, because Funk is here, and I've been waiting to get to him. He's been waiting patiently with his hands crossed in his lap, and I know he's dying to get in on this. So Funk, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, how did you know that I like to talk? First of all, obviously having Buzz not here last week, I like, don't get me wrong, Turtle did a fantastic job kind of covering his place, but it's nice to have that foundation of knowledge who just understands every single intricacy of this ecosystem, understands every intricacy of the tech, and can really provide the foundation. And I like to think that there are some levels of sophistication within the team where, I tend to be a little bit more on the grassroots level, just kind of hanging out with some of the investors, but also thinking about important ways in which we can sell not only the token, but the product to people to help people see the value and kind of come to terms with it in ways that they can understand. Because when you're looking at these complex diagrams, when you're looking at a lot of vocabulary words, it can be a wall that can be insurmountable for someone that's like, well, I don't know, man, I just came to buy a dog coin and go home. So there's obviously those levels of understanding. So I've been strategizing ways to fully understand all the different iterations of the ways that people can use the Bone Crusher utility, all the different connections it has with various dexes and trading on Shibarium, and kind of coming up with and actually I didn't even tell Buzz this, but a couple little vignettes of just like, here's one example of what someone could do to kind of trade these things. So that's one thing I've been thinking about more in the long term. But what my in the short term efforts, my goal has been to increase our Twitter followers and our holder count. That's where we're focusing first in terms of social media. So I've been really working within the team, with our CMO and all those things to kind of get the tweets drafted the way they're supposed to be networking with the right other X accounts to increase our follower base. I've started working on, we have a lot of professional agencies that we've been working on, which has been fantastic. They have their own mechanisms, strategies, kind of higher level marketing kind of tools that they utilize to increase visibility, network, investor traction. But also from my perspective, what I like to do is kind of get on the grassroots level and connect with some of the more grassroots key opinion leaders, influencers, whatever you want to call them, and kind of create a deck there and get some of those long-term callers in our corner that are pushing it in their individual communities. I think sometimes you get a lot more bang for your buck if you go to a lot of small communities and get a couple of loyal investors and you're able to talk to them directly and bring them into your community, make them follow your X account, get them excited and get them talking to other people about it, because word of mouth is the strongest marketing tool that is available. In addition to that, we've, after we grow out the X account, I do also in the long term have my eyes set on saying, hey, we were successful with this social media, which I want to get it to a certain level before we do, and then start to look and say, where else can we focus our social media? I know that we had a couple comments on the DAO Telegram chat where they're like, what about TikTok? What about Facebook? I know that we've talked about YouTube for some of the awesome content videos that we've been putting out that demonstrate the product both on mobile and desktop experience. So getting those up on a YouTube, those are all things that are in my sights, as well as just trying to obviously understand the ecosystem myself and kind of some of the history of what our KOLs are, our advisors, and kind of learning all those relationships so that we can best learn how to influence and leverage them, obviously in a mutually beneficial way, not in an extortionary way, to benefit all parties involved and ultimately push K9 Finance and, more importantly, in the grander scope of things, Shiba Inu that much further than we could do without it. So that's kind of updates from my end.
Funk is a lot like me in that we've got what we call marketer brain, because for all the crypto I've ever worked on and worked in, mostly what I've done is marketing, and I ended up more focused on X. But broadly, when Funk is talking about trying to get more followers on X, trying to get more holders and stuff like that, he even just said that as he has come in, one of the biggest things he's had to overcome is just the broad scope of what K9 is trying to accomplish. And I'm saying this to him audibly for the first time. He's never heard me say this, but bro, when I got here, it was confusing as hell because I didn't understand liquid staking either. I didn't know what was going on. I certainly had to read the white paper, light paper. Alan, NFT, my guy down there in the comments, we have a version made with heavy crayon handwriting if you need help, because it got to a point where it was like, hey, could we make one of these for like children or people who might have children's brains? It's difficult to explain and it takes a long time. And then when you start getting into the ESK9 and the escrow tokens and stuff like that, liquefaction in my brain, it can be one of those things that when you get someone, and he said it like this, and I'll give you the microphone back, Funk. He said, when someone just shows up and they want to buy a dog token, they don't give a shit about any of this. And that's also, to a certain extent, why you see charts do what you see charts do, is because your initial group of people, 75% of them don't even join a Telegram, my guy. So Funk's job is conversion on getting people to understand the distance between the scope of what the utility is and then what they actually already know, which is very little as it turns out, right, Funk?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even me who's been in the space interviewing, you interview a lot of projects for 3 years, when I got into the tech here, even I was like, all right, what does this vocabulary word mean again? And what does this word mean again? I think I got them all now, but I was going to say as well, when you talked about simplifying things, I used to be, for those of you guys who don't know, I used to be an elementary teacher for 4 years. And so one of my strong suits was taking something that's extremely complex or seems extremely complex, breaking it down into component parts and really making it easy for investors to understand. Because even if they don't understand all the vocabulary, all the layers of it, if they can understand how it would be beneficial to them as an investor if they knew what to do, then that would get them bullish enough on it to kind of understand the utility as a whole and its power, even without knowing all the intricacies of the tech and the workflow behind the scenes, the back end, the smart contracts, the front end interface, all those different elements,
That's an awesome point. I actually didn't know that background about you, and now you've got me wanting to go write a proposal to see if we can get a grant to hire 7 kindergarten teachers to be part of our marketing team. I'll have to look into that. But Turtle, I'll get with you later to figure out what the budget is to get elementary educators. Because they're always saying that teachers don't get paid enough. Maybe we can get some moonlight modding done in the Telegram, because that sounds like maybe our demographic would be perfect for that. Y'all are going to crucify me. I'm either right or wrong. I don't know. Remember,
I think that there's definitely an element of I'm just joking here, but an element of babysitting as well when it comes to certain investors. No, I'm just kidding, guys.
No, he's not. He means it. I've already chastised the listeners once. You can't be the bad guy here. I played the heel so that Buzz and everyone else could be the good guy. Remember, you always have to have a heel. I'm ready for Buzz's Corner. I got a couple things I want to get to before we head out. Funk, I appreciate your updates. Everybody in the chat, remember that Funk's favorite thing to do is talk. He's just as bad as me about that. So if you ever need to pin him down on anything, just tag him in the chat, guys. He's chronically online, just like me. It's actually called terminally online. There's a word for it that I use. So Funk's around if you ever need anything, you guys. And I appreciate you, Funk, for the work you're doing, man. 2 things. We're going to do Buzz's Corner, and then I want to give everybody a chance to run through the pin posts up top before we start towards the shutdown, because I see there's 4 posts up there, and I want to give Buzz ample time. Buzz, we have 2 corners worth of time here. You owe me a corner from last week, so settle down, everybody, and get your drinks ready while Buzz sits in for an extra long version of Buzz's Corner this week. Buzz, it's yours.
Well, I'm definitely cognizant of time, but because I don't want to run over, but I think like the hot topics in the market right now are really ETFs and then CZ. So those are probably the two topics that I would hit. And I kind of have a contrarian point of view on the ETFs. Like, this thought actually spurred out of a tweet that I saw from Mr. Lightspeed a few days ago. And I think the crypto market in general gets so bullish on, ETFs are coming, like there's X amount of billions of dollars that are purchasing these ETFs. And I think we need to remember where that capital's coming from. Like if you look back into crypto history of people that were accumulating Bitcoin back in 2013, 2015, 2017, whatever the year may be, like these were people that believed in the fundamental principles of sound money, and likely more stronger holders that believe that Bitcoin was going to be digital gold or digital cash or whatever that belief was, and that it should be an asset that's non-correlated to broader macro markets. And I think when you're having these ETFs issued and we're celebrating billions of dollars of value coming into spot ETF markets, I think it's exciting because we're getting new buying coming to the market and the Bitcoin price is going up. But I think that it actually adds an element of change to how Bitcoin is probably going to be trading and reacting to things in the broader macro market. Like as we get more money in that is participating in TradeFi, they're going to start trading Bitcoin as if it's a risk-on asset. And I think if you look at the correlation of how Bitcoin trades over the course of the last couple of years, it's starting to be more and more correlated with risk assets in TradFi. And I think I saw Mr. Lightspeed's tweet. I think it was the Hong Kong ETF that launched a few days ago. And there wasn't that much interest in it. And I think ultimately the price of Bitcoin went down and people were relatively bearish on that news. But I kind of tried to think of it from a different point of view. Like, is it a bad thing that we're not getting people from the TradFi world buying Bitcoin and we're focused on maybe getting more holders in at this price and more buyers in at this price that believe in the fundamental principles of sound money and not just purchasing this within their Chase account or something like that are treating it as though it's maybe a levered Facebook stock or something like that, and then more of a riskier tech asset. So that's my contrarian point of view of even though some of the ETFs have not performed as expected, it's probably not the worst thing for the long term of the industry. And I just try to look at those scenarios from a different light. And then the second thing was just CZ. I'm sure many people saw that news about CZ doing some jail time. I mean, similar to when we were talking in this forum a couple weeks ago about SBF and his trial, it just prompts me to think about what would have happened in these scenarios if they were doing a DAO. So Turtle had a great feature in the Shib magazine that I encourage everyone to read about just how much time and effort he put into setting up the DAO. And when you look at how SBF and CZ really got themselves into trouble, I think it comes down to one salient point, and it's things going on behind the scenes that was nefarious to users and users didn't really know about. So I'm just very glad that Turtle has put in that time and effort to have great tools like the DAO forum where ideas are coming to light, great tools like Snapshot where holders are apprised of different decisions, the foundational content for K9 where we're able to see this is exactly how the DAO works and how it's going to operate, transparency measures that we put into effect, like having our smart contracts audited, having all three of the wallets that are used by K9 being publicly available with ENS addresses, having the DBank portal, which Shima has shared and put together that shows the breakdown of all of the assets that are held in the K9 multi-sig safe. So I'm just very thankful for putting together all those materials and hope that as a community, we really use those as transparent materials to govern this as a Shib army and a K9 unit, more importantly.
Two very good points, man. Thank you. I look forward to the corner every week. I never know where you're going to go with it, but yeah, you were right. Those are two big headlines, and easy to weigh in on, but definitely contrarian point on the first one. Interesting stuff. Lucky today, I do not have the hard out at exactly the hour on this, so I've got a 5-minute overtime for the K9 Finance Spaces today at least. So I don't want to skip out on going over the pin posts and then giving everybody time to do their outros and stuff and say goodbye. So I wouldn't want to rob everybody. Luckily, I had a client cancellation, so I got a little bit of extra time. So let's go through the pin posts because I'm looking at who's put their stuff up there in the order that they went up. The first one is from Buzz, and it is the video of the UI for the mobile DApp with a hard D. I said the D. You heard me. Can you go over a little bit about that? I know we talked about it in the beginning, but talk about the video a little bit.
Yeah. Part of our strategy here as we're building in Q2 is recognizing that a lot of our community is not technical. A lot of the SHIB army is not technical, and we want to be showing people like, hey, real stuff is being built here, and here's what you're going to be able to do with it. And the development update there is starting to show, hey, you're going to be able to access the K9 Finance product on your phone. It shows the different wallet connections you'll be able to make and the different important functions that are going to be within the app, like staking your bone, delegating it to a validator, getting your bone out, turning K9 bone into bone. So there's a lot that goes under the hood in videos like that, but I think we're doing a better job week over week, starting to show people and give a clearer idea of what the product is going to look and feel like. I hope people agree.
I definitely think it looks good. There's a blend. Someone once told me about the difference between Microsoft and Apple, and I guess there's this whole business lesson about the packaging differences between the way Microsoft made their stuff. So like picture the box for like Windows 98 and the 17 stickers that would be on the outside of it, and then how Apple is just like a box with a single apple. I guess there's a whole business lesson about this, and there's a blend between explaining it the way you feel like it needs to be explained, but staying sleek and sexy. So finding that right mix of sleek and sexy for the people is going to be your constant battle. Funk's hand went up because he probably knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, actually, I just put my hand up because I do have something to say on Turtle's behalf because he did get kicked off the space.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, sorry to derail your conversation there, that wasn't on topic, but yeah, there is a pinned tweet. It is the second one over, at least for me, that says introducing the K9 DAO whale program. Buzz mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we installed Collabland. We're utilizing their third-party service for now to check for whalehood, if you will. And I know that Buzz had also mentioned all the perks that come along with it, but if you have 400 million K9 tokens, DM Turtle, come to the main Telegram, DM Turtle, and he will get you the appropriate link that you can go through Collabland to check out whether your holdings are sufficient. And yeah, if you're close to getting on there, feel free to bridge that gap and come over to the whale group and see what kind of network that you can build there, what kind of advantages you can get by being part of that group, aside from just holding a ton of K9, which is valuable in and of itself. Of course, we're not encouraging anyone to buy, but just mentioning those things for Turtle.
Thank you, man. That's the second post up there.
And just want to mention, just finishing the point on that second post there, that if you're somebody who owns vested tokens, can't use Collabland, we can just DM us and can figure that out to get you in the chat and manually verify that. Turtle, I know that you're back up. Maybe you want to talk about the third item here, about your feature in the SHIB magazine?
I actually don't see them.
That's X's UI messing with you. So for some users, X UI will just freeze, and you'll see the exact users that you saw before things changed. But I think I also, FYI, I didn't even know this, but I was reading it last night. I have a feature in there too.
Yeah, I can talk about it. So SHIB Magazine had an article featured about K9. It was really highlighting the entire workings of the DAO and just kind of like what the DAO has accomplished thus far. Main feature of the article was Turtle, his background and experience. I do encourage people to click on that and read the article. I thought it was really well done. And like Funk said, has a feature in there about what he's been spearheading with the whale program. So a lot of great information in there, and as usual, very well written from the SHIB Magazine team. And then I wanted to highlight the K9 Battlefield as well. So Daisy, who is our head of marketing, not the CMO, she organically found this just due to a product that one of our third-party marketing partners built for us to start tracking a lot of the news that's coming out about K9 so that we can continue sharing it more. And noticed that we had a ton of organic articles being written this week about K9, and we decided to put out this post with 15 plus organic features this week. And that is really a testament to a lot of the work that's being done by everyone there in the K9 unit Battlefield. So that's why we're able to get so many organic features and get so many media partners interested in sharing news about K9. So incredible achievement there for our community. And then the last post here, which is not new news to many members of our community who have been here for a long time and have seen us on Mario Spaces, or maybe been on a space where Shane has actually been hosting us from the Mario Spaces as well. And Mario has now officially been announced on our Twitter as an official advisor. He has been an official advisor for a while now. We've had a few spaces with him now, but officially announcing that, I got the green light from his team to put this tweet out there, and really excited about that. And we have a lot more spaces and speaking opportunities that are going to come with that relationship there, which is very exciting, because anytime, and Shane, I heard you or read that you were talking about this in our Telegram channel earlier, anytime that you can be exposed to millions of impressions, especially impressions from people who are at the very least crypto curious, I think it's a great thing. When you're looking at marketing and advertising and crypto in general, yes, you can put up billboards in Times Square, or you can put up ads on a bus bench, or whatever it may be, but the odds of those impressions and those eyeballs having a crypto wallet, yet alone owning Ethereum, yet alone having ever heard of Shibarium or anything like that, is very low. But having an audience like Mario has, where it's people who are crypto curious, if not crypto degen, as a archetype for a marketing persona, is really valuable, because a lot of those impressions that we're going to be getting there, they own crypto, they have a wallet, and they would at least understand at a very high level what K9's doing. And it's just great marketing that we're going to be able to be doing for the long term with a great advisor.
And I'd like to give a bit of insight, if I can, to that, because I know some people might have an idea of what happens on these spaces with Mario. Outside of what I'm doing right now in the K9 Finance account, I don't know how many of you know, but I host his show for him weekly. And I do like 5 to 6 spaces a week hosting those exact shows. So what's the value of doing one spaces when you get 100,000 listeners? I don't know, man. It's good. It's great to get those impressions, right? But what you need, in my opinion, and this is as someone who's there a lot, is being able to be there frequently. And what we've got is the ability not just for K9 to be there frequently, which is great for the K9 account, to actually be there, because the protocol for what we're doing when we host on Mario's show is mega strict about letting other brands chill. So you're not even going to get another meme token, account up there to speak, and without them being scrutinized. So that's big. But the other thing is, and this is what I am doing intentionally as far as I can as a member of the K9 community who also gets to do those shows, is I am able to tell Buzz and members of this team what show is coming up, even if it's not K9 related, and they are able now to come and speak. They have established themselves as part of the rotation in a list of speakers for different subjects. So depending on what's being talked about, I can send Buzz a message and say, hey man, we're doing a spaces today. Here's the guests, here's the subjects, come swing through. I can send Lightspeed a message and say, hey, we're doing exchange discussions, come through. And as a part of being in these places, it lends the validity to when they show up here and they're talking about what we do. So there are layers to the onion when it comes to how marketing works here, because getting a single spaces to have that many people there, 100,000 people, is great. That's fantastic. But being able to have Buzz repeatedly show up in a place that when they go, man, this guy is smart as hell, well, I'm going to click on his profile and see what he's talking about. Man, it's, he talks about this K9 finance thing a lot. There's value drilling down into why these spaces appearances matter in a place like that. And I swear, I'm not even trying to sell you on them. I'm just letting you know it's not that the one appearance matters as much as it is, like they said, the network effect from being being in these places and spaces. So as people get familiar with your brand logo, they get familiar with hearing your conversation, and eventually you build trust. And that's what it's going to take, particularly for something like what we offer. We're not some sort of fly-by-night, sell it real quick token. We're trying to get people to come and stake and use a product. So they have to become pretty comfortable with the idea that these people are around for a long time. So the more they see Buzz, the more they hear me, the more they hear Funk, the more they hear Turtle, and all of the community members who become visual and vocal members of this community, the more trust you build and stuff like that. So I'll get off my soapbox about it, but there's a reason that audience matters, and there's a reason having you guys on there repeatedly matters to me. So I'm glad you guys are able to do that stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, excellent segue to my next and probably final piece of alpha here, but similar output or outcome to having the SHIB account here. And the SHIB account is frequently coming to our spaces week after week to really amplify our messaging. And whenever their account is here, all of the 3 million plus followers of SHIB are seeing the KNINE being an official SHIB project, seeing that KNINE is on the timeline of the SHIB account, and that's those impressions, and then seeing the brand over and over, that it's going to help convert people to joining our DAO. And I'm happy to share as a final piece of alpha that the person who's behind the SHIB account has never spoken publicly before. And next week, we've agreed that they'll be speaking for the first time ever on our weekly DAO spaces. So you'll hear about that and be telling some very, very interesting stories about being one of the first people that was ever involved in SHIB, and stories from Ryoshi and how SHIB has really developed over the years as somebody who's been there from the start and holds the keys to the SHIB Twitter account. So I think that's going to be very exciting next week. I hope to hear some insight of how he feels the original vision of Ryoshi is being followed, and how he feels that KNINE plays an important role in that vision amongst many, many other great things that the SHIB team is building, and very excited to hear that next week. And for those of you who have been with us here since the start, we were able to have Shai on and have his second time ever speaking publicly on a KNINE Spaces, and now we'll have the SHIB account speaking for the first time ever next week. So I thank them for that, and thank them for being here week after week. And without further ado, I'm going to stop with the alpha.
A very alpha day for you, though. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the SHIB account for choosing to do that in our KNINE Spaces, and more so just for my own self-gratification, Pulse Digital Spaces, because I always say the best conversations happen with Pulse hosts. So shout out to my guys. We want to be the kind of place that someone would feel comfortable to come out and do this. I pride myself on making people want to hit the request button and feel like they can actually come up and have a good time. The number one rule at Pulse is have fun. So if I have gotten to the point now that the SHIB account thinks it would be fun to come and speak here, we are killing it, you guys. So look forward next week to the KNINE Finance Spaces with the SHIB account literally coming and speaking for the first time. So I'm mega bullish about the fact that they've chosen to do that. We had to lose a couple of people along the way before we did closeouts because they probably had other obligations, and I was able to run late today. Turtle would send his best to everybody and encourage you to go to forum.k9finance.com, and I'm sure he had a great time today. Next week, he and I are going to tear into forum updates, and maybe we're going to play a little a debate back and forth about that stuff. We lost Funk along the way. I feel like I'm doing the in memoriam at the Oscars. This is kind of grim. We lost Funk along the way, and he disappeared. He gave us updates on the things he's doing to learn more in depth about the product so that he can begin to reach those audiences that need a more basic understanding and comprehension of what goes on at KNINE, and we all appreciate that Funk is doing this work, so thank you, Funk, for that. And he would extend his gratitude to all of you. He's always a very gracious guy, so thank you to Funk. Let's see, who else was up here along the way? I see 2% is here. I always did save at least 2% of the final closing for 2%, even though we didn't hear from him at all. What's up, my guy? I appreciate you.
No problem. Glad to be here. I didn't talk much. I was on the lookout, sliding into elementary teachers' LinkedIn profiles and see how they can collaborate with KNINE and SHIB.
See, what I like about Matt, the reason that we roll together with Pulse, is Matt's a worker. When he's a doer. Sometimes in life you find people that need to be told how to do things. Other times people hear things and they just get shit done. So he's one of those GSD guys. I appreciate you, Matt. Thank you for hanging out in the KNINE Spaces today.
Glad to be here.
Yep. And then Buzz did stick around all the way to the end, buddy. It's just you and me. No one else in the foxhole left but you and me. I hope we're going to make it out together. What do you think before we go? What are your final thoughts for everybody?
Oh, well, despite losing many of the speakers, we still do have the community here. So happy to have everyone here. I'd say my final thoughts are that we're coming up to our second ever roundtable meeting, which I think Turtle said was on the 10th, which is a good time to reflect on the first one. So the first one, we had the budget go through for marketing specifically. So it's been a couple weeks now since that got approved. It takes time to onboard marketing agencies, marketing groups, new hires, like even Funk, who's new to the marketing team. I think in a couple days here, if not next week, I've seen a lot of exciting things on the marketing calendar for the community to get excited about and finally start seeing that budget go to work. And I'm very excited about it because people have been here from the start. They've seen how organically we've been building this community, how organically we've been hosting spaces like this, these organic VCs that are happening a few nights a week in our Telegram. And I'm very excited to see what the marketing powers within can start to do with this budget, being able to hopefully really bring K9 to the next level.
Is my microphone unmuted? My UI is being weird right here at the end.
Yes, you are unmuted. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Can you still hear me? Because my UI just froze on me.
My UI also froze.
Okay, well, we're going to get the hell out of here before this thing shuts down then, you guys. Elon's coming for the spaces. We kept it too hot in here today. They got to close this before the servers crash. You know how it goes. Another K9 Finance Spaces. This is 15 weeks we've done it. I appreciate you guys letting me be the speaker at these spaces. I don't take it for granted that I get to come up here wearing the K9 account and carry on the shenanigans and speak the way that I do. Remember, I'm just a guy like you guys. Everybody could be something in a DAO. That's the whole point. I get to be the speaker and I get to do the spaces because that's what I'm good at. So this is CryptoPulse9 or Pulse Digital up here speaking on behalf of K9 Finance DAO and the whole community. Thanks to Buzz, thanks to Shib, 2% and everybody that came. We'll be here next week, same place, same time, with the Shib account speaking on spaces for the first time. You heard it here, folks. Leave here right now. Write the post. Can't wait till next week. Looking forward to hear that account speak. We'll be here. I'll be here with you hosting, and we'll see the Shib account at the next K9 Finance Weekly DAO update. Have a great day, everybody. I appreciate you.